Hello, Brussels. This is Tess Funk. I'm a journalist of Mo Magazine. I'm 26 years old, and I'm reporting from Youthopia. As you can see behind me, it's a beautiful place. In Utopia, there are people living that are actually, I think, misinterpreted or misportraited by our media, by our politicians, by even the people themselves. It's a place where people share a past, where people share histories, where people share values, and where we are kind of lost. They call us the lost generation because they think that we are apathic, that we don't care about what happens with us, that we don't care about politics because we don't go to vote. But I think that in Utopia, there's a place where people share things in the first place. I think that young Europeans are a generation that keeps this continent moving in a way that we don't really know where it's going to, but I see that there are a lot of positive things. And because I saw all of that, I went to travel to all 28 capitals of the European Union in the run up to the European elections by bus, train, and sometimes even hitchhiking. I do all of this in order to catch some kind of European mood among young people. And I actually do that in a kind of funny way. It's partly because I think that we miss a lot of connection, which is one of the good things about Europe, is that we can travel freely, that we can visit each other's universities, that there is a lot of exchange of knowledge and passion. And so that's why I did a couchsurfing marathon through all capitals. So far, I took off the 8th of March and I went to already 19 of the 28 capitals. So I traveled to London and then Dublin, Amsterdam, Berlin, Copenhagen, Stockholm, Helsinki, Tallinn, the other two Baltic states, Riga, Vilnius, Warsaw, Prague. Then I went to Bratislava, to Vienna, and from Vienna I went to Ljubljana and Zagreb, the uh, the last new member state. And then the last 3 days I spent in Bucharest, which was a pretty interesting place because the couch where I was sleeping on was actually a place where young journalists, there were 25, three guys. Their names are Radu, Vlad, and Stefan. And they try to fight actually corruptions in their government. They try to bring the truth out in somehow a gun show style. They're basically living on the edge. But they have a website, and their website is sponsored by crowdfunding actually. So they just don't spend a lot of money, but it's somehow they want to change the world by writing stories about the truth. So that's why I spent almost 3 days with them, not above ground in Bucharest, but underground with the sewer kids, which are poor Roma kids who live under the ground. It's an old generation that stayed there in the 90s when the regime of Ceausescu fell and they ran away, their parents were gone. And now it's a whole network of mafia, so I've been following them together with my host there for almost 3 days. Now, yesterday I arrived in Sofia, and after almost 2 months of traveling, I've had it a little bit. So I thought that maybe for a meeting of young Greens, and I'm sure that you all are as ambitious, at least, as all the people, the super interesting people I met in the last 2 months, that they could use some positive vibes, because I see that in some way, through all the discussions I had with young people in Europe, I feel that we do feel more and more connected in Europe. There's some kind of European identity, but in a way, we also distrust politics. Even, I think, maybe even more than the generation before. We don't know where to feel at home. We're not apathic, nor are we absent, but we are searching for a way to be a meaningful part of this world in politics or outside politics. I met activists, I met artists, I met people who work for institutions who are in politics themselves. I met journalists, all these kind of people from different profiles, even a taxi driver, a hacker, go on. And all of them kind of share the same feelings that there's a lot worth to fight for in Europe, but somehow they don't really find their way in politics because young people are much underrepresented in politics, especially in Europe. And the issues that concern them and their future, because they're the generation that is hit the hardest by the crisis, are not really debated in Europe nor in their own governments. So that's when they want to make a stand against malgovernment and want to be a part of this society and try to change it from the grassroots. But I also believe that politics can be a facilitator for that. But I see that now, at this moment in Europe, this is not the case. So that is why I want to be there with you. And I really support what the Green Party is doing, even if I'm a journalist and I'm supposed to be objective. I cannot deny that I think it's important that if I see all these ambitious young people on your lists who really want to make a change, and maybe they don't really have a concrete plan, but somehow it's good that there is something moving, because we are a generation that makes this continent move, and we should not just look away, but look at it right into the eyes, and that starts with voting. So the question I have for the channel people of this night there in Brussels, it looks so far away. I haven't seen Brussels in a while, and I must say I miss it somehow. But maybe I can give you this message from Youthopia, which is not a pessimist message, because that is, I think, pessimism is what is the most mortal thing about our generation now. But you can just look at it in a different way. And I'm asking you, how exactly will the Green Party, because I realize that even if there is good initiative and it gets a lot of support, but how will it be able to fight against a world of austerity measures and conservatism in Europe that is becoming more and more of a general problem, because people don't believe that voting for smaller parties will bring a change. I don't believe that personally, but how will you offer young people, how will you include them in your program, and how will you defend their future in the next 5 years in Europe? So that was my message for you, and I wish you a very good night, and I think I'm going to pass out now because I haven't eaten in 3 days, nor have I seen a bed. I spend too much time on the ground, but I do this because I think it's important that we talk about this, and we'll see what happens. Good night.